I'm going to tell you a story that I wrote. I hope you like it. So I'm going to be reading as I'm recording. I'm here to tell my story about my journey with the only one who ever loved me. His gift of friendship, compassion, acceptance, and loyalty was the only thing I needed. This pandemic has really affected us all in so many ways, either it be by death, or by grief, or by isolation, or by simply changing your daily habits by washing your hands constantly. People have washed their hands so much and so often, and sanitized them even more, like someone who has ODD. Some of us forgot to wear pants on a Zoom call, and wearing masks became the new normal. You were unrecognizable when you went outside for your essentials and forced to live life in quarantine. We were, we all had to live a life of loneliness, literally. Nothing has really changed about my life since the pandemic. I realized I was alone before, and I'm alone now. However, this time it's different. The pandemic may be over, but the pain is not, and I continue to grieve. I was fortunate enough to be stuck in quarantine with my dog BillClinton. He was dying, and most clinics were closed because of the pandemic. For most of the time while on lockdown, I tended to his every move and need. I had to clean him up after himself. I had to bottle feed him. I had to pick him up to walk. I had to pick him up when he couldn't stand. I was literally watching him slowly die. And on January 17th, 2021, he did. I am still grieving the loss of my only friend. It is a revelation of agonizing anxiety, knowing that for the first time I am actually alone and have no one. I was fine with that situation for 21 years because BillClinton was always within arm's reach of me. And now that he's gone, I am truly alone. No friends, no family, no associates, no coworkers, no neighbors, no lovers, no classmates. No one knows me. No one cares about me. That was one good thing about owning a dog, was that he did care about me. But if he only knew, I needed him more than he needed me. And without him, I am a complete emotional wreck. I am going through so many conflicting thoughts and having suicidal ideation. It's hard when you don't have no one to speak to. Therapy may help many people, but it didn't work for me. Back in the day when I was growing up, it was difficult for me to come out the closet and identify as a gay man. In some cases, it is still not accepted. But now it is more common than ever because more LGBTQ people are joining the community more than ever before. When I was honorably discharged from the Army in 2005, I immediately sought therapy. I had just been in the war and come home to another. I was homeless, and all of my legal guardians in my family had passed away. My mother, my father, my grandmother, and my grandfather and uncle all passed away. Those are all the people I knew to turn to when I was in trouble. Those are the people I looked up to, although my family was quite dysfunctional. And I've been through a lot as a child, suffering through sexual abuse and neglect and starvation, and shuffling from group home to group home while in foster care. I still miss my mother. After all, you only have one mother. She hated me and sometimes I hated her. But I had to love her because she was my mother despite her transgressions. I was also struggling with my identity. I couldn't come out the closet without suffering the consequences. I would have been dishonorably discharged because it was don't ask, don't tell at the time of my service, and I couldn't come out the closet as gay or identify as gay. I also held that secret for years growing up. I lived in a low-income housing projects. If someone found out I was gay and living in their building, I would have been shot. I had no place to go. I had no idea. I had no friends. I had no family. But the only thing I did have was BillClinton inside my pocket. He was so small. I took him everywhere I went, including the shelter I was placed in. That is one thing that I am grateful about serving my country. I came home expecting to be treated. That is one thing I regret about serving my country, when I came home expecting to be treated with the utmost respect and mannerisms and humility. But yet, I was homeless and had nowhere to go, and no services were provided for me. The Human Resources Administration only assists those who were mentally unstable or had a mental disability, or on drug, or currently using drugs, or had a drug addiction. But someone who came home from the military had nothing. The VA hospital only offered beds on a nightly basis that was first come, first served. I was lucky some nights, and other nights I slept on the train, until finally my application was approved by the city of New York, and I went into a local shelter in which I resided inside the facility, sharing a room with 3 other homeless men. I stayed there for 3 years until moving into my apartment in the Bronx. The only one who understood me and never placed judgment on me and accepted me for who I was, and actually listened to me and conversed with me. We would actually have conversations back and forth. I didn't know what he was saying, but I enjoyed the conversations. BillClinton was my life, my only family, my only friend, the only one who loved me. And now he's gone. He's gone forever, and I'm lonely, lonelier than ever. For the first time in my life, I am actually alone. I don't know anybody. Nobody knows me. I'm not on social media. I am a stranger to my neighbors. I don't know. I don't have conversations with people other than strangers, where I'm having to find myself constantly repeating my story over and over and over again, and it's becoming redundant. While I agree, I search continuously and endlessly online, and various sites and platforms and agencies and phone calls and Zooms and virtual home visits, all to be denied and denied over and over again for adoption of a dog. I don't understand why I was being denied. I was a perfect fit. I am a perfect pet owner. I am the one who will keep him healthy, active, and alive. It's ironic that I need to have more than a pet's needs. It's ironic that I need to have more than a pet. It's ironic that I need the pet more than the pet needs me. They come from a place of abandonment and neglect and isolation and abuse, similar to myself. So I understood a dog's mentality, and they understood my mentality. Dogs love me. Even random dogs would come up to me and kiss me and want me to pet them. There was a connection that was stronger than any bond you will ever know. I can remember being 15 years old and the drug dealers underneath the building commanded their pit bull to attack me. And the dog was ready to attack, and it started to run toward me, and I ran for my life. I was so scared because we all know once a pit bull locks onto you, they are not letting go. I ran, and the dog was slowly catching up to me. But then I thought to myself, why am I running? And I stopped, turned around, and the dog jumped on me. And he kissed me. The drug dealer continued to give him commands to attack, but the dog continued to kiss me. I knew right then and there that I have a connection with animals, particularly with dogs. I had a cat as a teenager, and a cat connected with me as well, but I found the emotional connection stronger with a dog. Moreover, I like to socialize, and cats don't socialize outside. When you don't have anything to talk about, most people talk about the weather or politics, and Bill Clinton was the perfect name. When I would go for our walks, I would find myself in conversations with other dog owners talking about politics and the legacies of the former presidents, including Bill Clinton. The more I cried over his loss, I began to realize that Bill Clinton was my only family and my only connection to a family. That alone proves the amount of love we had for each other. My love for Bill Clinton will never die. I am struggling to find where I am in my life as a middle-aged gay man. I am all alone in an empty apartment that no one has ever seen before. The emptiness and loneliness is far worse than anyone stuck in quarantine. At least you all have people to Zoom or to post on their social media pages. I don't. I am all alone now, and I found the answer. The answer was another dog. And I continued to apply for adoption, even though I was being repeatedly denied over and over again. Finally, one rescue answered my email, and in real time we were connecting, and the dog would soon be mine. I only saw one picture at the time, but I knew that he was going to be the next Joe Biden. His name was Thunder, and as the adoption process went on, and they called my references, including my super, my adoption was approved. I signed a contract, they chipped him, and the dog was mine. And I was in transport to get him. I was dumbfounded because I actually had a driver who drove me to upstate New York at the very last minute to pick Thunder up. God works in mysterious ways, and I was wondering if this way was his plan. I was suddenly driving to get my new son and committed to this new life and this new family. I couldn't believe it. Things were happening, and they were happening fast. I thought it was happening purposely. The stars were all lined up, and this was meant to be. Joe Biden was going to be in my life as the new president and my new commander-in-chief. And that heavy burden of grief and suffering and loneliness was lifted the second I held him in my arms. When the rescuer applied the chip, I almost had a heart attack when I heard Thunder yell. I was feeling his emotions and pain. That connection was felt immediately. It continued to grow even more in real time on the ride home. He was lying on my lap, sleeping on my arm. It had fell asleep and was numb. I couldn't move it out of fear that I would wake him up. We walked a total of 3 times. I found Thunder to be very social but very curious. He chased squirrels, squeezed through fences, lurked in places he shouldn't have been, but curious. because he was in a new environment. He was in a new city and home and was finally living outside of a cage. I was so happy for him and that he was starting a new life with me. On those walks, I bumped into other dog owners who all laughed when I introduced him as Joe Biden. I even saw several dogs Bill Clinton knew, and the owners were so elated for me and Joe Biden. It was a feeling I have never had felt before in several years before the pandemic. I realized that despite their horrible upbringing, I need a dog more than he needs me. On the second night, I had just finished giving him a bath. He loved being massaged under the water, and I saw the comfort in his eyes. I just finished towel drying his coat, and when he quickly shook the water off his coat, he ran and hid underneath my bed. Joe Biden lay on the dusty floor underneath my bed, still wet and essentially cleaning the floor. I signed and squeezed a toy. He slowly crept out from under my bed to give me a kiss and then slowly crept back underneath to hide. He cowardly hid under the bed and howled. It was the most adorable thing I've ever seen. Was he talking to me? Were we having a conversation? I don't know, but I liked it and encouraged the bond that we were having. That's so far what I got, and I'll continue on when he runs away, but not right now. I guess I can right now. So after the dog run, after he was inaugurated on the 17th, which happened to be the 4th month anniversary of the passing of Bill Clinton, I thought the timing was perfect. That's why I said all the lines were lining up and all the ducks were in a row. Everything was working out perfectly. And I felt it was meant to be. And I was so happy. I haven't been that happy in many years, way before the pandemic. And it's amazing how a dog can simply relieve all that stress and anxiety and depression in an instant. And Joe Biden did that. And I took him home Sunday night. We went out for a beef walk Sunday night. Monday, I took him out in the morning. We slept most of the afternoon watching daytime television. And I took him out at 3:30 to the dog run to officially inaugurate him and have his inauguration with all the other dogs as President Joe Biden, and the dogs and including the people welcomed him and was so happy for me. And it was one of the best days in my life in a very long time. Because Bill Clinton was not as active as Joe Biden was, and I kind of had fun chasing after him and running on the leash with him, and, you know, seeing where his curiosity would lead him, and him playing with other dogs, and the leashes getting tangled up, and it was a good start, and a good day. I gave him a bath that night. He was filthy because I hadn't cleaned him since he came home from the rescue agency, and I should have cleaned him, but I didn't, and I did, and he was filthy, and he was running in excitement, and he was finally clean, and, you know, we went to bed together, and he lay in my bed, and we cradled in the fetal position, and the next day was the worst day of my life. It actually is worse than when Bill Clinton died, because I actually knew where Bill Clinton was and is. I don't know where Thunder is, or Joe Biden. I don't know where Joe Biden is, or anything about him. I wasn't even sent a picture or a text. I was just, it's like I'm still searching for him. I feel like ACS had taken away my child for no given reason, that someone filed a complaint against me and reported me to ACS, and ACS taken my child away from me without any reason. But I'm the rightful owner of this pet. My name is on the chip. I have the documentation. I have the contract. The dog is mine. I'm its rightful owner. In the contract, it specifically states that once the dog is adopted, the owner now has full responsibility for its health care and well-being. I was doing that, and I was willing to pay the vet. I was willing to go through the process of getting him the help that he needed had he been injured. Luckily, he was not. But I expected to be reunited with him, and I wasn't. And it's as if I'm still searching for him on the streets, knowing that he's never going to be found. But I know he's alive. So there's still that opportunity to see him, and they refusing to allow me to even see a picture or an update via text. It's just so disheartening and unprofessional that this place would do that to someone, you know, that you thought you spoke so highly of, and then take his dog away, and his dog that meant so much to him. My references told you that, I told you that, and I told you the fact that I was having difficulties adopting, and you understood that as well, and encouraged me and told me that I was going to be a good father. But if I'm such a good father, why would you take him away from me after a simple accident? It's really hard, because here I am again, reliving the pain and the trauma of a lost dog in 4 months. That's too soon. That's too soon. And then I'm also having PTS memories from being in war, and PTS memories from being as a child. You know, I remember having a dog named King, and my mother had said he ran away. But she actually put him to sleep because she was jealous of my relationship with him, and that she wasn't getting attention that King was getting. That's my mother. So you see how dysfunctional that is? And she put him to sleep and told me that he ran away. And I went to everybody's house, showing them a picture of the dog, asking if they saw him. It was more than 3.5 hours, but I never found him. It wasn't until I turned 30 that I found out that he was put to sleep. And it killed me, you know. And I'm reliving that pain all over again, because I was searching those streets, looking for him, calling his name, screaming his name, asking everyone I saw, called the police, called the news. I got everybody involved to help me find this dog, and the dog was found. Now, anytime a dog runs away, it's returned to its rightful owner. I am the rightful owner. Why was it not returned to me? I'm so disheartened by this whole ordeal and this process. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not legal. It's inhumane. It's disrespectful. I don't know what to say. There are no words for this type of behavior, especially when you're hurting someone that you once claimed was a good fit and had no doubt that I would be a perfect father for my dog. And yet, you take him from me and didn't allow me the opportunity to say goodbye. I'm heartbroken all over again. I have to admit, I'm very happy that I didn't cry throughout this podcast. But I feel good that I'm speaking about it, because this is not fair, and it's quite harsh and cruel. You know, anybody with a heart would know that, I need the pet, and the pet needs me. And the fact that I had my dog for 21 years speaks volumes by itself. I shouldn't have to explain anything other than that. My dog lived to be 21. How many dogs do you know live to be 21 years old? That alone speaks volumes of the care and love that I had given him. And I'm very proud of my accomplishments and the way I trained him. And I was looking forward to the new opportunity and challenge of doing so with a new dog. And it was all taken away from me. Everything is always taken away from me. And I've always found myself getting things that were secondhand or off the streets or from the kindness of strangers or food pantries. Being alone sucks. Because if I had somebody here, we can combine our incomes and live a happy life. But nobody wants to live a happy life with me. No one likes me. It's okay. It's okay. It is what it is. And with that, I hope you enjoyed my story, and I'll speak to you soon. Until then, have a blessed day.